Video is to show you how to navigate through your chemistry course. You can see that I'm on the course homepage. Hopefully you've figured out how to get into Colorado Digital Learning Solutions systems, log into Buzz, and then in the homepage of Buzz you see your course cards, and Chemistry Semester 1 would be one of your course cards. And once you click on it, this is what it should look like. There's a folder before you begin. Start here. In the first week of class, there will be plenty of time to go through the contents of this folder, and I recommend that you go through them. It's tempting to skip this stuff, but using the right browser, enabling cookies, there are a lot of settings that can cause issues with online content within your browsers, whether you use Google Chrome, Firefox, or Explorer. So this is worth reading through, and then certainly the student orientation will give you some good tips on how to navigate and how to be successful in an online class. So you have a day or two to do this. Make sure you do that. Then you'll see the content right below, starting with this folder, Chemistry Semester 1. You see two folders in my course that you won't see in yours, because this red dot means that they've been hidden from your view because they're second semester courses. So you'll see all this stuff initially. Eventually, I'll probably hide the units we're not working on from view because there's just no need to have all that mess there. But you'll also see underneath the course itself, the course information and resources. You'll see a little bit about me and how to contact me. Alternatively, you'll contact me through Genius, and that's in the system information as well. You'll see some tips on how to be successful in an online course. Read through that. And then I'll explain how your grade comes to be in this class in this folder, but I'll talk through that in this presentation video as well. So just some backup resources. The syllabus, look at it if you want to. You'll see the syllabus carried out throughout the semester. But here's how you navigate. Basically, after you've gone through all this stuff, you'll have a due date in Unit 1, probably at the beginning of the second week of class. I'll put in a due date for this first lesson, Introduction to Physical Sciences. You can see there's a pretest that I've hidden from your view. I don't require the pretest because I just don't see much value in them personally. That's a choice. It's just less that you have to do. So I clicked on and I'm opening up the Introduction to Physical Sciences. Now I'm glad this happened because sometimes this happens. It'll kind of throw up a wall. And I've just learned this hack. You just click the login screen. It still doesn't let you in, but then go back out. Click on it again. It's kind of a pain, but you should only have to do this one time, and it should let you in. You can see I'm having a little bit of an issue this morning getting in. But if you just keep going out and keep clicking, eventually you'll get to this page, and now you're in. So just keep going out, coming back in. Eventually you'll get into the assignment, and hopefully once you've logged in and been in a few times, that won't happen to you anymore. If it does, then we'll contact tech and see if there's a way we can circumvent that. At any rate, you'll still be able to get in. And you click on the View Assignment and Curriculum on this page. Yours may look a little bit different than mine. And once you click that, at any rate, the next thing you get to when you get into Admin will take you intuitively into this tutorial. It may not look exactly the same for you, but if you just keep moving forward, you'll eventually get to Introduction to Physical Sciences tutorial. And this is the teaching component of the course. This is what your instructor would do in the classroom from the front of the room with PowerPoint presentations or however you've been instructed in the past. This is the content. This is the learning content. And it's a series of slides that you just progress through. Some of them are just informational. These first few slides are giving you the objectives, tutorial contents. They're going to show you what you're going to go through. You can see there are quite a few pages of content to go through, so it might be good to have an idea of what exactly is going to happen along the way. This is just a pre-question, so there are some places where you have to interact with the content, and here's one of them. You'll have options to drag into these boxes on your screens, and you'll take these tags and you'll drag them back and forth. You'll figure out what to do in these screens, but they're interactive, and then they'll give you feedback on whether you did well or whether you need to correct misconceptions. And you'll get the slides where you actually have to play something.
Ancient Greece is known for philosophers such as Socrates.
And this one's a video that's read to you. A lot of times it'll just be this, a script, something that you have to read. If you don't want to read it, or if you're struggling with the terminology, you can have it read to you by clicking these buttons
The
over here.
nature of science.
So if you want to get up and wander around the room and have it read to you and listen to it, that's an option. Or if you just want to have it read to you while you read along, there's a variety, which isn't a bad learning tool, honestly. So there's a variety of things you can do here. And then you finish that information, you continue on. Here's an example of kind of an interactive slide that you can click on each thing, and it click on each tab here, and it explains the type of science a little more in a little more detail if you want to. Anyway, you can spend as much time on those as you want, getting the lay of land. Here's another one that you could click the record, the button, have it read to you if you want. Eventually, you'll get to slides where you have to answer questions, and here's one of them. It asks you to put something in, and you can see in my screen it already shows the right answers. You'll be asked to select from the correct answers. You'll submit it, and then it'll tell you whether you're right or wrong. And it'll give you some information if you're right. It'll give you some information if you're wrong. So it's just really a spot check, going back over the prior few slides, asks you a few questions to check your understanding. So definitely spend some time going through those. And then you just continue to progress through the slides. And it kind of goes back and forth like that. Informational slides, slides that ask you to answer questions like this one, are just varied throughout. Now, a nice tool on this slide, and there's a lot of resources over here that you can look through, like a dictionary. There will be a list of terms sometimes in these resources. Here's a math review that might be worth going through. I don't require it, but you might download this in case you run into math issues down the way. But the thing that's most useful on this slide is this guided notes introduction. And you can download this as a fillable PDF, and as you progress through the slides, this just really guides you through the information. So it's an outstanding learning tool, and I've thought about requiring it. And if people start to struggle, I may yet require it. But at this point, I'm not going to require it. But I still think it's an excellent learning tool, because you should take notes as you go through the tutorials anyway, because you're going to be tested on them. And when you're tested on it, you can use your notes, so that's a good thing to have. Well, here's a set of guided notes that's going to explain exactly what you need to see and what you need to find. Since it's generated by the curriculum, it's probably going to reflect what's on the test as well. So I think give that a strong recommendation. It's in every tutorial under this folder, guided notes. Download it, put it on your computer, fill it out, save it so that it's there and you can use it in the future. Particularly when you get into working chemical equations, and there's some nuances to that maybe you need to be reminded of in these notes. Really, really handy tool. Now, once you get through the tutorial, it'll take you into, you won't have to go out and click into it. It should take you straight into, or at least it'll be intuitive how you get there. It'll take you into a mastery test. And this is just a check for understanding. So it's like a mini quiz, and it'll take you through a series of questions. This one is, there's 10 questions possible, and it'll give you 5 of them. So this test will give you 5 questions. When you're done, it'll show you how you did. Now, if you didn't do well, or if there's some things you wish you understood better, because this is part of your grade. You'll receive a grade for how you do on this mastery test. So if, say you went through and you only got 2 out of 5, well, that's a 40%, not a great grade. You can go back to the tutorial, start again, advance through the tutorial, and then it'll take you back to the mastery test, and you can take another shot at it. And then it'll give you the better score. Now, you can't go back into the mastery test without progressing through the tutorial again, which you might see as kind of a pain. But the reason is, if you didn't do as well as you wanted to on the tutorial, perhaps you need to review some of the contents of the, or if you didn't do as well as you wanted to do on the mastery test, perhaps you need to review some of the contents of the tutorial. So it takes you back through it. And if you got it and you just know you pushed the wrong button, then you can just advance through the tutorial really quickly if you want to. You may have to stop and answer a few questions, but you could get through it in a fairly quick amount of time. And this is really a mastery-based program, so the idea is that you keep coming back to the content so that you can learn it well and eventually get a good grade on that mastery test. And you have several days. You'll have 3 to 4 days to do every lesson in this course, so you have plenty of time to go back and relook at this material. So there's no reason not to do it. Because in the end, then you're going to take a test after the unit's over, which is really going to measure your understanding, and that's what counts the most. So you want to make sure you've poured through this as many times as you can to get the content and understand it well. And then you'd go on to the next. Scientific models and measurements would be the next unit that would, or next lesson that you would work on, which would be due then 3 to 4 days after this one's due. You'll have a calendar in your it may not look exactly like mine, but if you go under the drop down list, you should find lots of things, but you should find this calendar. If you open up the calendar, that's where you'll find the due dates. I will also in the core stream, I will also add a folder that's just a reminder of due dates and things coming up, and also just tips on how to improve if you're struggling that I'll update each week. So 2 ways you can kind of navigate your way through and know what you've got to get done. But definitely visit the calendar often so that you know how you're doing. Also visit the gradebook often, because that keeps track. It's updated live as you complete things. It'll show you how you're doing. I'll be watching this often and sending you messages and encouragement from time to time based on what I see here. But this is something you should look at often. And there's a lot of things in my drop down that's not on yours, but you should have a gradebook. You should have a calendar. At a minimum, you should be visiting those things often. And that's, in a nutshell, how to navigate through a Buzz course. And the sequence the cycle just goes over and over again. Lesson, mastery test, tutorial, mastery test. You can retake it as many times as you want, and then you move on to the next tutorial and mastery test. When you're done with the unit, there is a post-test. That's kind of like it's the unit exam for that unit. You'll take that, see how you did. Especially after Unit 1, if people don't do as well, I a lot of times will give retakes on Unit 1 because you're just learning to navigate the system. So it will be a while, several weeks before we get to this place where we take a post-test, but as you take one and you don't do well, if you don't do as well as you would like, just remember that at least in the early going, I'll give you backup chances to improve your score there, because I know it's difficult to adapt to an online learning environment, and I guarantee you, or want to reassure you that I'll give you every chance to do well in this class.